نحمده ونصلي ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي ربي زدني علما ربي زدني علما ربي زدني علما. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I welcome you all in another live session, and today's session will be on Surah Al-Kawthar, which is one of the most interesting surah inshallah, and I will tell you the background of that surah also. So this is Surah Al-Kawthar, and it is 108th surah of the Quran, and is the shortest surah of the Quran. The longest surah is Surah Al-Baqarah, and Surah Al-Kawthar is the shortest surah of the Quran. And when it comes to its revelation, there are several different opinions as to the circumstances under which it was revealed. But according to Ibn Ishaq, it was revealed in Makka, sometimes just before the Isra and Mi'raj. So when it comes to Surah Al-Kawthar, as I have mentioned, it was revealed in Makka, and it was revealed in a very special period of time to console Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam when the kuffar, especially Al-As ibn Wal or Abu Lahab's wife, they mocked him as Abtar. Okay, here is the word Abtar. This surah is ending with this word. So the word Abtar means cut off or childless, and they have mocked him after his son passed away. So this surah reassures Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam of abundant blessings, which is al-Kawthar means abundance, blessings, and it also means a river in paradise, and declares his enemy are the truly cut off. So Allah disliked this thing for Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam a lot, that Allah said, "Inna shani'aka huwal abtar." Indeed, your enemies are the one who are without cutoffs, not having children. So after the death of Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's son, these kuffar claimed that he had no male heirs, because all the son, as soon as they're reaching the age of 2, they were dying, and that his mission would die after him. But Allah given the divine consolation in this surah, and it was revealed to comfort Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam during a time of intense grief, assuring him of Allah's favor. So Allah don't leave his prophets alone. So whatever test they are going through, Allah is there with them, and it's from Allah indeed. So this surah, what is the importance? It serves to remind that Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam enemies are forgotten, and his legacy in enduring and his reward is immense. Specifically, Allah is referring to the river fountain al-Kawthar. Okay, so the blessings Allah blessed Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam with. So if we read it, this is also a blessing to us, that this surah is reminding of a very important incident, and when we are reading it, we should be knowing the background of the surahs, so it can increase our iman and it motivates us, inshallah. Inshallah, we will be starting our session with the recitation first, and then inshallah we will come to the tajweed breakdown. So let's start our session. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar fasalli lirabbika wanhar inna shani'aka huwa al-abtar. Very short surah, just having 3 ayahs, but so many rules are there which we need to learn, inshallah. Let's see it again. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar fasalli lirabbika wanhar inna shani'aka huwa al-abtar. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar fasalli lirabbika wanhar inna shani'aka huwa al-abtar. So let's see the rules in Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ba, sin, kasra, bis, mim, lam, kasra, mil. So if you see before the letter lam in the word Allah, if you see kasra, you have to make it Bismillah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar fasalli lirabbika wanhar inna shani'aka huwa al-abtar. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ba, sin, kasra, bis, mim, lam, kasra, mil. Bismil. Because of this kasra, we read letter lam in the word Allah, light. And this rule is specifically for the word Allah. If you see lam anywhere else other than this word, you have to make it always light. But in the word Allah, we read the letter lam sometimes heavy, sometimes light. Okay, and it depends what's before it. So if you see the kasra before the letter lam in the word Allah, okay, I'm speaking about this second lam. This lam we are not reading, this alif we are not reading. With this meme we are reading this lam. Okay, so if you see there is a kasra before, you will make it light. If there is a fatha or dhamma, you will make it heavy. So in this condition, before the letter lam in the word Allah, you have kasra, so you will make it light. Bismillah, Bismillah. And we will stretch the lam because of this short alif, or you can say vertical fatha. So vertical harakat are such harakat in which we read by stretching. Okay, so here you have vertical fatha, you have to read it by stretching it up to one alif. Bismillah, Bismillah. Here rahma, ma. You don't have to read noon yet, because we will read noon by connecting it with the next ra. So ha, ra, kasra, hir, ra, ha, fatha, rah, hir, rah. Whenever you see there is a fatha on ra, you have to make the letter ra heavy. So here this ra is heavy, and this ha in the word rahma, ha is from the middle of the throat. Our throat is divided into 3 parts on the basis of pronunciation of the letters. So we have lower part of the throat, middle and upper part of the throat. So middle part of the throat is very important because 2 letters are pronounced from there, the letter ha and the letter ain. Okay, so if we don't pronounce them from the middle part of the throat, we will end up reading them like the other ha, and this ain will be like hamza. So this will be lahni jali. These are such mistakes which can change the meaning of Quranic words. So we have to be very careful, and we have to keep on practicing these letters until we reach the perfection of reciting and reading these words. So this is Rahma, Rahma, Nirrahim. Now, meme is having vertical fatha, so we will give it a slight stretch up to one alif. Nirra, noon, ra, kasra, nir, ra, fatha, ra, nirra, ha, ya, kasra, hi, and this is meme is sakin. So we have to say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Lam is light because of the kasra. Ra is heavy because of fatha on top of it. Ha from the middle of the throat of the word Rahma. And same goes to word Rahim. Ha is from the middle of the throat. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Here in the word Rahim, I have stretched up to 3 alif this ya. So I will tell you the rule here. If you see that your second last letter is your madda letter, and after that you have to pause, and you're making the last letter silent by yourself, because if you see, meme is not silent here. Meme is having kasra, but we have to pause here. So instead of saying Rahimi, we will read it Rahim. Okay. So if we make the meme silent by ourselves, and we see that ya is sakin, and before ya sakin there is a kasra. So basically this ya is madda here. Madda letters are such letters which, like these vertical harkat, we read them by stretching up to 1 alif. So here will be stretch up to 1 alif. But better is that you apply the rule of madde arid lissakun, and this is when we are pausing and we have to stretch up to 3 alif, and this is best to do so. So you have to read Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar. Fasalli lirabbika wanhar. Inna shani'aka huwal abtar. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar. So let's see the rules in the first ayah of Surah Al-Kawthar. So the first word is inna. So Hamza, this is Hamza. Alif is called Hamza whenever it's having any sign. So here Alif is having kasra. So we will say Hamza kasra. Okay. And this is connected with this noon. What does Shadda mean? Shadda mean that your letter is twice here. Okay. So you have 2 noon here. One is hidden and one is here prominent. So Hamza, noon kasra in, noon alif fatha na. Now, whenever you see the shadda sign on top of noon, you have to do the gunna or nasalization in the sound. And here, if you want to know more about this, this is idgham with the gunna. Okay, because if you open this noon, you will see 2 noon. One noon is carrying sukoon sign, the other one is having this fatha on top. So after noon sakin, if you see letter noon, you will do idgham, meaning merging, plus nasalization. Okay, so here that's why. But in order to remember it in simple way, remember whenever you have shadda on top of noon, you do the gunna in the sound. And while doing gunna, your tongue is touching your upper palate, and the sound is inna, inna, like you're holding something and then you're stretching here. Hold it and then stretch it. So now let's speak about this alif, which is madda and having a small mad sign on top of it. First of all, in order to know any term in tajweed, you have to see the literal meaning of that word. So the word mad means to stretch. Okay, when we say harufe madda or when we say maddat, we mean that stretching. We are speaking about stretching it up to different levels. So here when you see alif and we say that alif is madda, it means that there is a rule which is applied here. So whenever you see that alif is there and before that there is a fatha, this makes alif madda. Okay, so these are the letters which we read by stretching up to one alif. But here soon after the madda letter, which is alif, you see there is a hamza in the next word. This is one word, this is second word, and second word is starting with hamza. Now a question arises, this is alif, this is not hamza. So what we will do here? So let me explain again. Whenever you see that alif is having any sign, then this is not alif anymore. We call it hamza. Okay. By looks it's alif, but its rules are now with hamza. So this alif is acting as a hamza here. So we will say hamza ain fatha ta ya fatha tai. Ta is from the musta'aliya letters, so you have to read it heavy. So when it comes to this mad here, this mad is madde munfasil. Madde munfasil is when your one word is ending with the madda letter and second word is starting with hamza. Okay, so hamza is in the next word. If this is the case, then this is called madde munfasil, the detached mad. But the amount of stretching here will be 2.5 alif. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar. So here we have gunna, and here we have stretching, which is 2.5 alif. And in the word ain is from the middle throat. Okay, so our throat is divided into three parts: lower, middle, and upper. And from the middle part of the throat, you have to pronounce ain. And this sound is very unique and different. But if somebody say a'taina, then it will replace this, ain will replace itself with the hamza sound. So this will be a major mistake which can change the meaning of Quranic words. So we have to be careful when it comes to pronunciation of ain and ha. Okay. So this is from the middle of the throat and it's a bit squeeze sound, like a squeezing sound. Ar-tay, ar-tay. Tayna. Ta is heavy because it's a full mouth letter, which is also called musta'aliya letters. Okay, so ta is from the musta'aliya letters. 7 letters among 29 letters are such that we read them by stretching up. We read them heavy. Okay, now this is noon with a vertical fatha. Vertical harakat are same like madda letters in reading. So we have to read it by stretching up to one alif. Inna a'tayna. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar. Inna. Hold, and then here you have to stretch. 2.5 alif. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar. Inna a'tayna. Toina. To is heavy. Okay, and noon we are stretching it up to one alif. So again here is a gunna and here is stretching, which is 2.5 alif. Ain is from the middle of the throat. Ain. Okay, ta is heavy, it's a full marked letter, and noon is again we are stretching it up to one alif. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar. Thar. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar. So let's see the rules here. In the word kauthar, okay, this kaf is connected with Islam. Kaf, lam, fatha, kal. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar. Now in the word kauthar, very important, this tha is very important here. So let's see what we have to do. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar. Kaf, waw, fatha, kaw. Now what's the rule here? Before waw sakin, waw is sakin here. It's having sukoon sign. Okay, letters are sakin or letters are sakin when they're having this dal shaped small sign on top of it. Okay, we also call them silent letters, but these are not like English silent letters where you just exclude the letter in pronunciation. Here the letter is there, but its sound is paused. It's not having any fatha, kasra, dhamma. What gives the letter sounds? Fatha, kasra, dhamma are the things that give the sounds to the letters. So when letters are not having fatha, kasra, dhamma, they will have this sign. This sign indicates that the sound is paused. And such letters which are having sukoon sign, they are dependent on their previous letters. Okay, they are not independent. You can't read them on their own. They are dependent on the previous letters, and previous letters are having any harka with them. So that's why we read them together. Kaf, waw, fatha, kaw. So here waw is sakina or silent, and before waw sakin you see there is a fatha. So this makes this waw lean. Okay, when there is a fatha before waw sakina, waw is lean. What does lean mean? Lean means to read gentle, without stretching, without suddenly pausing. Okay, lean letters are such letters which we read them gentle, without stretching or sudden pause. So you have to say kauthar, kauthar. Okay, we can't say kauthar, kauthar. Okay, simple we are reading it. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar. Now, kaw fatha kaw, sa fatha sa, and ra is sakin. Why ra is sakin? Because it's having fatha here. We are pausing here. I is completed. Our one sentence is completed. You can say it's like a full stop. And next sentence is starting from here. So when we pause, we drop the haraka or whatever the sign is there on top of last letter. So here having fatha, we will make it silent. We will remove this and we will give it this sukoon sign. Kauthar. So whenever this situation occurs and ra is sakin, and before ra sakin you have fatha here on the second last word, then a second last letter, then ra is heavy. So here you have to read ra heavy. Ra is not from the heavy letters, it's not from the musta'aliya letters, because musta'aliya letters are such letters which we read heavy under any condition. But ra is sometimes heavy, sometimes light. It depends on the situation where it's occurring and what it's having on it or before it. So here just remember, tha is having fatha, ra is sakin because we are giving it sukoon sign, we are pausing here. In this form, ra will be heavy. That's why you have to say Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar. Thar, thar. And this tha is not seen. You can't say it Kausar. So avoid this seen pronunciation here, and you have to say the letter tha properly. What is the makhraj? What is the exit point of this tha? In order to pronounce it correctly, you have to touch your tip of the tongue with the inner edges of top two front teeth. Okay, tongue will be slight little bit out, and it's touching the inner edges of your top two front teeth. Okay, inner edges of your top two front teeth you have to touch with the tip of the tongue, and then you have to say kauthar, avoiding that airflow which sounds like seen. Okay, it's not kausar, it's kauthar, thar, thar. Okay, tip of the tongue should be touching the inner edges of your top two front teeth. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar. Thar. Okay, ra is heavy. So let me explain again. Noon is having gunna here. Okay, we will hold the noon sound. Then here you have to stretch it up to 2.5 alif. Inna, like this. Then ayn is from the middle of the throat. Taina. Ta is heavy. Okay. Noon is stretched. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar. This kaf is connected with the next lam. And in the word kauthar, Ra is heavy. Tha is from the tip of the tongue when it touches the inner edges of your top to front teeth. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar fasalli, fasalli. Now this swad is again from the musta'aliya letters. Musta'aliya letters are such letters which we read heavy and it's like a full mouth letter. So you can't say fasalli. You have to say fasalli, fasalli, fasalli. Swad is heavy. And lam is twice. So one lam we are reading with a swad and one with its own self. Fa fatha fa, swad, lam, fatha, sol, lam kasra, li. Fasal li, and try to not make it stretch when I say fasal li, otherwise we will end up adding a ya here. Okay, same goes in the Durud Ibrahimi. People say Allahumma salli ala, it will be wrong. Allahumma salli ala, salli, same, fasalli, fasalli. So if you stretch unnecessarily, it will be adding a letter, and the moment you add a letter, drop a letter, remove a letter, or make the silent letters going and make the non-silent letters silent letter, these all mistakes will make you fall into lahne jali, which are the clear mistakes, and they can change the meaning of Quranic words. So here you have to be careful. You have to make this swat quite heavy. Fasolli, fasolli, li rabbika, li rabbika. Now let's see what's the rule here. Lam kasra li, ra ba fatha rob. So what we have discussed in this, that sometimes we read ra heavy under some conditions and sometimes it's light. Here again there is a condition under which we are reading ra heavy because it's having fatha on top of it. Okay, li rabbika, li rabbika, ra ba fatha rob, ba kasra bi, robbi, li robbi, li rabbika, li rabbika. Ra is heavy. Okay, li rabbika, li rabbika. Kaf is light. Then the next word is wanhar. Now this alif we will ignore. Okay, now waw is directly connected with the noon. Waw, noon fatha, one, ha, ra fatha, har. Okay, same like this ra. Here ra is silent. Here we have made it silent by ourselves, but here ra is originally silent, and before that we have fatha. So in this condition ra is heavy. Okay, here ra is heavy in the word kauthar, wanhar. Okay, here ra is also heavy, and in the word li rabbika, rabbika, ra is heavy. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar fasalli li rabbika wanhar. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar fasalli li rabbika wanhar. Har. So ra is silent as well as it's heavy because there is a fatha before it. Okay, I'm repeating again. Here we have a gunna. Here the stretching is 2.5 alif. Ain is from the middle of the throat. Ta is heavy. Noon is stretch. Waw is lean, so we have to read it gentle without stretching or suddenly pausing it. Tha is from the tip of the tongue when it touches the inner edges of your top to front teeth. So avoid the seen pronunciation here. It's not kausar, it's kauthar, thar. You have to suppress that airflow. And ra is silent. Before ra sakina, there is a fatha. So this ra will be heavy. We are making it silent by ourselves because we have to pause here. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar fasalli, fasalli li rabbika wanhar. Fasalli li rabbika wanhar. Swad is heavy, ra is heavy. Listen again. Fasalli li rabbika wanhar. Ra is heavy. إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر. وانحر. Wanhar. Ha is from the middle of the throat as it's from the halqiya letters. So in order to pronounce ha from the middle of the throat, you have to open the mouth wide and you have to exhale the air out. Okay. Wanhar. Har. Ha fata ha. And ra is there. Ha ra fata har. Ra is heavy. إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر. وانحر. إن شانئك هو الأبتر. Let's see the rules in this ayah, but before that let's recite one more time. إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر. In the word inna, Hamza, Nun Kasra in, Nun Fatana. Now this is not Hamza, this is Alif. Why we are saying this is Hamza? Because whenever Alif is containing any sign, now you call it Hamza. Okay, because its rules are placed with the Hamza now. By looks, it's still Alif. Okay, but it's acting like a, its roles changes. Okay, so Hamza, Nun Kasra in, Nun Fatana, inna. What's the situation here? We have two Nun. What does Shadda mean? Shadda means you have two letters here. Okay, so twice we have Nun as a twice. So first Nun is Sakin, silent, and second will have what the sign is here on the top. That's why we say Hamza, Nun Kasra in, Nun Fatana, inna. Inna. So if you want to know more about this, this is basically idgham with the gunna, because after Noon Sakin, you have another Noon. Okay, if this situation occurs, you have to merge. Idgham means to merge the sound, as well as you have to do nasalization. So if you want to remember it in a simple way, remember whenever you see the shadda on Noon, you have to do gunna. Okay, gunna means nasalization, taking the sound, holding the sound of such noon and taking it into the nose and trying to pronounce it proper. So it's inna, inna. Okay, now it's not inna, because if we say this, we add alif here and this will be lahni jali, the clear mistakes that can change the meaning of Quranic words. Okay, so this word is inna. Shani'aka. Sheen alif fatha sha, nun kasra ni, shani, hamza fatha a, ka fatha ka, shani'aka. Inna shani'aka huwal abtar, hadamahu, waw, lam fatha wal, huwal. So whatever comes here in between, we will drop, same like we have done in word one har. Huwal, hadamahu, waw, lam fatha wal, huwal. Hamza, ba fatha ab, ta fatha ta, ab ta, and then ra sakin. Because we are pausing here, our sentence is completed, so it's like a full stop, and we have to make the last letter silent. Okay, and in this situation, when ra is having sakun and there is a fatha before it, ra will be heavy. So almost all the ra's which are ending here in the ayah number 1, 2, 3, all these three ra will be heavy. Okay, I will explain again that ra is not from the musta'aliya letters, it's not from the heavy letters, but certain conditions make it heavy. Sometimes we read it heavy, sometimes light. Okay, but the heavy letters are such letters which we read heavy under any condition. Okay, for example, ta, sod, these are heavy letters, musta'aliya letters. Okay, so here ra is heavy because there is a fatha before it and itself is sakina. Inna shani'aka huwal abtar. Abtar. Ba is from the qalqala letters. Qalqala letters are the 5 letters which are pronounced with a much more movement in their makharij. Okay, For example, qa, tha, ba, jim, dal. When they are silent, the qalqala is very prominent. But again, there are three levels of qalqala, three levels of bouncing or reflecting the sound in this situation. So first is when you see qalqala letters are silent, okay, but they are in between somewhere in the word like this, abtar. The word is not ending with a silent letter. So then the qalqala will be weak. You can feel it, but not much. But if the word is that much like ab, you will feel it quite much. Then the qalqala will be strong. And if the qalqala letters are on the last, okay, occurring, you have to pause them, and they're containing shadda as well, then the qalqala will be strongest. Okay, so there are three levels of qalqala, the bouncing in the qalqala letters, weak, strong, and strongest. So here in this word abtar, the qalqala is weak, all from the qalqala letters. Okay, but if you see, just for a quick example, if you see this Surah Kafirun, here dal is sakina because we are pausing arbud. So here kalkala will be strong because the word is ending with a kalkala letter, and kalkala letter is itself having sukun, is silent. So this will be strong kalkala. Okay, and if you want to see what is the strongest kalkala, so you have to see in Surah Masad. Here, when qalqala letter, which is ba, is having shadda, and you have to pause the harka on it. Okay, tab. So this is the strongest qalqala. This will be strong qalqala when the letters are sakin and they are occurring at the end, and this is strongest qalqala when the letter is sakin as well as shadda, having shadda, and it's occurring at the end. But here in this situation in Surah Kausar, the qalqala will be weak, okay, because the word is in between somewhere, the letter is in between somewhere in the word. Okay, our word is not ending with this thing. So three levels of qalqala I have explained. Now let's see the surah again. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar fasalli lirabbika wanhar. Inna shani'aka huwa al-abtar. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar fasalli. Never read it fasalli, okay, because there is difference between seen and swat sound. Although they both belongs to Safiria family, which is like a whistling sound letters, but the difference is seen is light, like this word sahun, okay, and swad is heavy, quite heavy, because it's from the musta'aliya letters, the heavy letters. So it's fasalli. Never say fasalli. The moment you stretch this lam, you will end up adding a ya with it. And if you do this, then you will fall into lahne jali, the clear mistakes, which can change the meaning of Quranic words. So you have to be careful. Do not stretch the letters unnecessarily. So here we have stretching up to 2.5 alif. Here we are stretching because of the vertical fatha. Okay. Other than that, if you don't see vertical harkat or mad, okay, never stretch the letters. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar fasalli lirabbika wanhar. Inna shani'aka huwa al-abtar. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar fasalli lirabbika wanhar. Inna shani'aka huwa al-abtar. So if you have any question regarding any rule, you can ask. A very short surah, just having the 3 ayahs, and it's the shortest surah of the Quran. So that's why this session will be not too long. And this was all. We have seen all the tajweed rules, and we have done recitation also. So let's do few time practice so we know what we have done so far. Okay, so I will briefly explain again that here is a gunna, meaning nasalization, because noon is shadda. And after that, this is mad. This mad is called madde munfasil, and this situation occurs when you see the hamza in the next word. And alif is called hamza when it's having any sign. Otherwise, if you see like this, it's alif, but if it's having any sign, then it's hamza now. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar. Fasalli li rabbika wanhar. Fasalli, fasalli, صاد heavy. Li rabbika, ra is heavy. Wanhar, ra is heavy. Inna shani'aka huwa al-abtar. Inna shani'aka huwa al-abtar. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar. Fasalli li rabbika wanhar. Inna shani'aka huwa al-abtar. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar. Fasalli li rabbika wanhar. Inna shani'aka huwa al-abtar. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar. Fasalli li rabbika wanhar. Inna shani'aka huwa al-abtar. So this was all about it. 3 ayahs. It's a Makki surah. Here, because we are pausing. So when we pause, because it's a full stop. For example, if I say, this is my cat, full stop. I love my cat, full stop. So when we are in English completing a sentence, or even in the Urdu when we are writing, we put a full stop. It means that one sentence is complete. Okay. So here in this situation, what happens whenever you see that this is ayah completion sign, okay, waqf tam, it means ayah is completed. It's a full stop. So when you put the full stop, whatever letter is there at the end, you have to drop the harka from it. You have to make it silent. Okay, that's why we have dropped this dhamma on the ra. We have made it silent. Abtar. This goes with all. Any ayah you're reading, for example, in this also, it's written ma'una, but you have to read ma'un. Okay, kauthara, you have to say kauthar. Wanhar, abtar. Okay, these are like punctuations in English. So if you have to drop this and you make it silent, then you have to read this ra heavy also. Because ra we read sometimes heavy, sometimes light. And in this situation, when you're making it silent by yourself and there is a fatha before it, then you will make it heavy. I hope this clears. Ta is not falling in the last verse. Ra is having sakun. Okay, we can't say ab. We can't make this silent and this silent. We are reading ta fatha, ra tar. Huwal abtar. No problem. If you have any question, you can ask me again in any ayah. Sorry. So let's start again. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar. Ta is heavy, ra is heavy, tha is from the tip of the tongue. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar. Fasalli li rabbika wanhar. Fasalli, sad is heavy. Fasalli li rabbika wanhar. Ha is from the middle of the throat, and this ra is also heavy. Inna shani'aka huwa al-abtar. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar. Fasalli li rabbika wanhar. Inna شانئك هو الأبتر. So these are the 3 ayahs, and this is Surah Al-Kawthar, which is 108th surah of the Quran. And in the beginning of my session, I have mentioned why this surah was revealed. It was revealed in Makka to console Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam when the kuffar, they mocked him as Abtar. This ayah is having this word. Abtar means childless, a person who is not having any children. And this happened after his son passed away. So this surah Allah revealed to reassure him of abundance, blessings Allah given, including a river Kauthar in paradise. Okay, and Allah declared that your enemy are the one who are truly cut off, who are childless. So they were mocking and they were giving the aziyah to Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then they also said that you don't have any male hires and that your mission would die after you. But this surah revealed to comfort the Prophet ﷺ during a time of intense grief, because this is not easy if you lose your child. Prophet ﷺ, Allah blessed with 3 boys, but they didn't reach at the age of 2. So they were dying before reaching at the age of 2. This was a very difficult time on Prophet ﷺ and a test from Allah. So this surah serves to remind that Prophet's enemies are forgotten because nobody knows their name yet. And when it comes to Prophet ﷺ, his legacy is enduring and his reward is still immense with Allah. Okay, and it's referring also to the river Kauthar in the Jannah. So let's see the recitation again. Let's hear the recitation again. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر. Now let's speak about the common mistakes people make while reading this surah. So first is when they say inna, they don't stretch it the way it should be. They say inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar. Okay, this makes the whole ayah wrong. So you have to do nasalization as well as stretching, that is 2.5 alif. Then this ayn is from the middle of the throat. If you read it a'taina, this is completely wrong. It's a'taina. Taina. Ta is heavy letter and you have to pronounce it full mouth. Okay. Then noon is stretch and kauthar. Second mistake people making in this word kauthar. They say kausar, sar. So you have to avoid the seen pronunciation. You have to read it tha, kauthar. Then when you say fasolli, if you say fasalli like seen, this is another mistakes. One of the mistake people make. Instead of saying fasolli, they say fasalli, like seen. So this is a mistake here. You have to make swad heavy, and instead of saying fasolli, you have to shorten it. You have to end the word with the lam kasra li. Okay, same in Allahumma salli ala. If you say salli ala, then you are adding a ya with it. Okay, so fasolli lirobbika, lirobbika. Wanhar, ra is heavy, and in the word wanhar, ha is from the middle of the throat. If you say wanhar, it will be lahne jali, which can change the meaning of Quranic word, because the moment you say wanhar, you will replace this ha with the other ha, and it will be a mistake here. Then here in the word inna, you have to hold the noon sound in order to do gunna. nasalization here. Shani'aka huwal abtar. This ra is also heavy. So let's do the final recitation and then inshallah we will end our class. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar. Fasalli lirabbika wanhar. Fasalli lirabbika, rabbika, ra is heavy, wanhar. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar. Fasalli lirabbika wanhar. Inna shani'aka huwa al-abtar. Inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar. Fasalli lirabbika wanhar. Inna shani'aka huwa al-abtar. Ta light, ra heavy. Okay, so all the rules same for the ra. Here ra is heavy, here is heavy, here is heavy, here is also heavy. Okay, so whenever you see the fatha and dhamma on top of ra, you will make it heavy. When you see kasra under it, you will make it light. And if there is a sukoon on ra and before that if you see fatha, ra is heavy. Okay, then when it comes to musta'aliya letters, this ta in the word a'tayna, ta is heavy. Fasalli, sad is heavy because this is from musta'aliya letters. Okay, then when it comes to nasalization, simple rule, remember whenever you see shadda sign on top of noon, you have to hold that noon sound. Okay, so it's inna a'tainaka al-Kawthar. Fasalli lirabbika wanhar. Inna shani'aka huwa al-abtar. Sadaqallahu al-Azim. So this has brought us to the end of our session. Today we have covered Surah Al-Kawthar, all the 3 ayahs with tajweed, spellings, and commonly make mistakes. And we have tried to correct our tajweed as much as we can in this short period of time. Then we have seen the background of this surah, why this surah has been revealed, what was the purpose, what was the topic, or in simple term, what was the shani nazul of this surah. So this is 108th surah of the Quran. Inshallah, I will see you in the next live session, and this will be on Surah Ma'un, because every other day we are doing a live session on the short surahs, and every day we are doing a session on Surah Al-Baqarah. So if you want to know more about it, stay tuned and check the playlists. Inshallah, you will be able to find there the pattern, how we are coming online and what we are doing in the sessions. So let's end our today's session by reciting Durood Pak on Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Let's send salawat and then inshallah we will end our session. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin kama sallaita ala Ibrahima wa ala ali Ibrahima innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma barik ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin kama barakta ala Ibrahima wa ala ali Ibrahima innaka Hamidum Majid. So inshallah, I will see you in the next live session, and it will be on Surah Al-Ma'un. Stay tuned, keep learning, and if you have any questions, your questions and suggestions are always welcome. You can comment and then inshallah I will reply to your questions. So inshallah, I will see you in the next one. Take care. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Inshallah, Idia. I will see you in the next one. Take care.